to help us in homes across England to actually provide the care if we run out of staff. So it's everyone pulling together, as I said earlier, I think. It is as bad as the picture that's being painted then. It's worrying for the future, but I'm sure if we work together we can get through it.
Mike, thank you. Yeah, there are a lot of people on the show today with that sentiment. Mike Padgett, who runs that St Cecilia's care home business in North Yorkshire. Lots of businesses getting involved as well in ways that they might not ordinarily be looking to run their business to try and help tackle this. Over the weekend, the government said it wanted manufacturers to produce medical equipment like ventilators to help with an expected surge in demand by the NHS. Manufacturers tasked by the government, though, to produce those ventilators are not ready to fill the demand, it seems. So the likes of JCB, Unipart, Rolls-Royce, they're all in close conversation with the government, but no blueprint, at least a detailed blueprint for expanding the manufacture of ventilators exists at the minute. We've got John Mellon with us, who's Managing Director of Nitronica, a circuit board manufacturer in County Down, Northern Ireland. We were there with Wake Up to Money last year, manufacturing smart bike lights then. John, morning to you.
Good morning, Sean. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Good to speak to you again. When you see all of a sudden manufacturers being asked, can you get involved, and you look at, quite a nimble business yourself, do you feel you're able to shift what you do to just immediately turn on to something the government would need?
Well, I think in this new world that we're living in now, that we have to be realistic and understand that there are bigger challenges for us to overcome than just getting manufacturing production out the door. People's lives are at risk, so we do have to find ways that we can accommodate that and try to help out as and where we can.
Have you had any of those sort of discussions yourself, either within the business or with others outside the business?
Not as yet, but obviously I was listening very intently over the weekend to what the government ministers were saying, and I tasked myself this morning with finding out how we can get involved and what we can do to help the situation.
Because a lot of people, healthcare suppliers will automatically be the first people to sort of be asked to up what they're doing. I mean, is it feasible for you at all to manufacture something that could contribute to the healthcare system?
Yes, it is. We manufacture for the circuit board assemblies, cable assemblies, and full products, as you know when you visited last year. So for us, the final application is largely irrelevant. If we have the drawings, the bill of materials, we can manufacture any electronic device. Essentially, a ventilator is an electronic device. So we have our engineering resource can easily handle the challenge that they showed us, and we will put every effort we can into making sure we get these to where they're needed as soon as possible.
And what about just yourself and your business and your staff, John? When we were there, it was busy. It's a jovial atmosphere. People get on pretty well. It's a good mood on the factory floor. Are you able to sort of keep all of that going?
Yes, we are indeed. As you know, we're a very, very cooperative workforce. Very, very multi-talented. They're used to sort of switching between different types of manufacture very, very quickly. We're a very nimble organisation. That's how we've survived over the years and thrived. So I don't see there's an issue. The issue will be with people, as you said, because we are people, and ultimately we're all susceptible to this virus. And if we lose some people, then we may have to reassess the situation, but hopefully that doesn't happen. And this, all your other talkers this morning have mentioned, cooperation between companies and normal competitors will have to go out the window. We'll have to start working together much more closely and moving work about so that we can get these products to where they're needed as quickly as possible.
John Mellon, thank you. He's got 100 staff there making circuit boards, and Nitronica will be one we're closely following over the coming days to see how businesses adapt there. Just to reflect again on that big news from the United States, Chris Ralph with us, Chief Global Strategist at St James's Place. Chris, can you just sort of sum up what the point of what the United States are doing, the Federal Reserve is doing with its interest rate cut and flooding the market with money?
It's basically saying that it will use all of its resources to make sure that markets function effectively and that we don't get into a situation where it is the market's dysfunction that is stopping the workings of the global economy. From everything that we've heard this morning, Sean, companies need to operate in as normal a way as they can possibly, and if markets are not allowing to do that, that's not a good place to be. So that's what the Fed and other central bankers are doing.
Chris, thank you. You're off to work from home today again, aren't you? So appreciate you popping into the studio to speak to us, Chris Ralph from St James's Place. Thank you for all your messages. Good luck with that wedding planning for the summer. Some big decisions to be made. Hope it goes all right. That's it from Wake Up to Money this morning. Breakfast up next.
Thank you, Sean. You'll be back and definitely quieter on the road this morning, out and about. How was your weekend, everyone? It's Monday morning and it's 6 o'clock.
First, the news and the best live sport. This is BBC 5 Live.
It is 5 Live Breakfast. I'm Rachel Burden. The government will hold daily coronavirus press conferences from today. We'll update you with the latest after 6.
In sport, the UEFA will sit down for a key video conference tomorrow to discuss Euro 2020. There's fresh doubt thrown on that by the Italian FA.
How's the weather looking for today, Simon?
It's pretty chilly this morning. We've got some frost across Scotland and through parts of England and Wales. But we've got lots of dry weather today. So for England and Wales, plenty of sunny spells after a bit of clouds this morning. Temperatures about 11 to 13. Scotland and Northern Ireland, though, we'll see some rain moving its way into western areas later this afternoon.
And Sean will be back with the morning funny news.
Good morning, Rachel. From perfume makers like Louis Vuitton's owner LVMH starting to make hand sanitizer instead, to central banks like those in the United States with massive interest rate cuts again to boost economies. I'll bring you the latest from the world of business.
And when Nikki joins us and he's back after 6:30, we'll be talking about all sorts of stuff, but in particular a big weekend of shopping, whether it was a panic buy or just, a slightly bigger shop than usual. The supermarkets really were very busy. It's a worrying time for people, but what bit of kindness are you planning? Are you helping out? Are you getting in touch with your neighbours? Are you looking after the elderly people near you? Are you planning to volunteer? Hashtag Corona Kindness. Get in touch.
This is BBC 5 Live.
Let's take you through the news first of all then. Boris Johnson or a senior minister will hold daily news briefings on the coronavirus outbreak. It follows criticism of the government's communication strategy. The Prime Minister will also host another emergency COBRA meeting and discuss a global response with G7 leaders in a video conference call. Central banks around the world have taken coordinated action to try to limit the economic impact of the pandemic. The US Federal Reserve has cut interest rates to near zero, the second reduction this month. Meanwhile, England's Education Secretary Gavin Williamson will speak to head teachers today to discuss their concerns. A number of schools have already decided to close. Advice to cancel large gatherings of more than 500 people has come into force in Scotland. The government is calling on organisers to act responsibly. It doesn't have the power to actually stop events. And a hospital has condemned theft of hand gel from wards and corridors. Medway NHS Trust in Kent says the actions of a small minority are putting the most vulnerable patients at risk. Dr. Philippa Kay is a GP and author.
My colleagues in A&E are saying that unfortunately supplies of things like aprons and face masks and gloves and hand gels, that people are going into A&Es to take them. Please don't do that. They're healthcare professionals, they are on the front line, and we want them to be well so that they can continue to look after people.
And around the world, more and more nations are closing borders and taking other steps to limit movement. America's two biggest cities, New York and Los Angeles, are shutting entertainment venues, while bars, restaurants and cafes will be takeaway only. And is there any sport to talk about, Chris, this morning?
There's a couple of things went ahead over the weekend, Rachel. Good morning, everybody. Judd Trump became the first player to win 6 ranking titles in a season. He won the Gibraltar Open snooker, beating Kyron Wilson in the final, but that was played behind closed doors. And there was some Super League went ahead yesterday with Castleford Tigers beating St Helens 28-14. Now, Super League, the chief of the Rugby Football League, Ralph Rimmer, was on 5 Live Sport yesterday with Steve Crossman, and he sounded quite bullish about sport being able to go ahead in that league. We'll hear from him in about 15 minutes. But then late last night, Toronto Wolfpack released a statement, their bottom of Super League, saying that some of their players had shown symptoms, and as a result they're in self-isolation and the rest of the squad has been stood down. Now I would imagine that will have a real impact on how that meeting today plays out. As soon as we have anything on it, we'll let you know.
For sure. Thank you very much, Chris. Good morning, everyone. I hope you're well this morning. It's lovely to have your company here. Monday morning, so much going on at the moment. It's almost hard to know where to start. I mean, I suppose what we can say is that it looks like Downing Street is stepping up efforts to at least keep people informed about its plans for tackling the coronavirus outbreak and how best to protect themselves. So from today, Boris Johnson or one of his senior ministers will hold daily news briefings. There's been criticism over the weekend because of the government's communications strategy and one interview appearing behind a paywall for a short period of time and off-the-record briefings being given. So this is one way to make that more transparent. There's another emergency COBRA meeting today. Still questions about what's going to happen with schools because of the outbreak. The Education Secretary Gavin Williamson is going to meet head teachers later to discuss their concerns, although some of them have already just taken the decision to close anyway. And we've seen an increasing number of universities as well halting classes, moving all their lectures online, which is perhaps much easier for universities to do rather than schools. So what are the numbers as we stand then here on Monday morning, the 16th of March? 14 more people have died from the virus, so the total number of deaths in the UK as it stands at the moment is 35. Health Secretary Matt Hancock says every Briton over the age of 70 will be told within the coming weeks to stay at home for an extended period to protect themselves.
The protection of the vulnerable and elderly by asking them to stay at home, that is in our action plan, but we do not want formally to say yet that people should do that. And the reason for that is simply this length of time that they need to stay self-isolated, stay at home to protect themselves is a very big ask. It's a very long time. And we do know that if you ask people to do this sort of thing, then they can tire of it. We know that it has negative impacts.
Plenty of fit and healthy 70-plus-year-olds I know wondering why they're being asked to stay at home when actually keeping fit, keeping healthy, getting out in the fresh air might be the best thing for them. So we'll look at that throughout the course of the morning. And then over the weekend, I was in one supermarket. I'm sure many of you will have been out doing a little bit of a stock up, even if you weren't actually panic buying 20,000 loo rolls. I suppose people were being maybe a little bit more prepared than usual, but it does mean the supermarket shelves are clearing despite appeals for people not to panic buy. The British Retail Consortium says there is enough for everyone if people just shop a bit more considerately. Helen Dickinson is from the BRC.
There's plenty of food for us all, but we need fresh food, for example, at their normal levels, and I think it's really important for all of us to be considerate of other shoppers and only buy the food that we need, so that way we can make sure that there's enough for everyone.
Meanwhile, all over the world, countries are beginning to adjust their exit and entry conditions. Borders are being closed. And in Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, the pubs have shut. So you know it's serious. They won't be open for Paddy's Day, part of their efforts to curb the spread of coronavirus. Spain, France are put in similar measures. Germany planning to close its borders with most of its neighbours. We are living in extraordinary times, but here on 5 Live we will attempt to always, of course, keep you updated with the most relevant information. We are aiming to have experts on every single day who can offer us clarity on what's happening with this, just to make sure that you know what you need to know, but also we want to share your story. So what's your experience been like with all of this? How is it affecting your life? Has it affected your plans for the future? You can always get in touch with us, 85058 at BBC 5 Live. Nicky will be along after 6:30 this morning. Let's start today by talking to Dr. Kalpana Sabapathy from the London